Hey, it's Dave. Welcome to my channel, my yard sale. Thanks for stopping in. I appreciate it. Hey, today I want to talk about just a little bit of an update. I want to answer some questions that Michael had that I think I might be able to help with, and I think some of the questions he had is probably some of the same questions that a lot of other people have. So hopefully this will help a lot of people. Hey, first off, before I get started, I just want to share that I am in the Northeast where it's cold, and I oftentimes spend a portion of these posts complaining about the weather and the temperature and just complaining about the general weather conditions. So I'm curious to know where that you folks are from. I'd love it if you would leave in the comment where you're located so I can try to make sure that I don't say terrible things about where I live if you live in this area, or I don't complain too much about the temperature if you actually have the same temperatures where you're at. So if you could leave in the comment where you're physically located, that would be great. I would appreciate it. So first off, I want to talk about depression and anxiety. I'm just going to say that I had immense levels of anxiety at one point, and I didn't even know what anxiety was. Now that I'm thinking back and I realize what it is or how it works, I realize that my insulin resistance, my diabetes situation caused me immense anxiety. As an example, I had this barn that the roof was leaking, and I would stay up all night worrying about whether the barn roof was going to fall in because it was leaking, which it eventually did, unfortunately. But the anxiety that I had with that was unbelievable. And then I was in a pretty dysfunctional marriage for quite some time that caused me immense amounts of anxiety that, quite frankly, I think that I could have probably dealt with it much easier if I wasn't insulin resistant or on the borderline of prediabetes and diabetes and having all the metabolic issues that I eventually did have. So mentally, I actually have very good mental clarity at this point. I don't have the brain fog and the fuzzy like thoughts that I had when I was really very insulin resistant, riding on the sugar and all the Lucky Charms and all the garbage that I ate. Man, I used to eat so much Lucky Charms. I can't believe that it didn't do me worse than it actually did. So I'm not really experiencing at this point depression or anxiety or any kind of mental health issues. I feel like I have more clarity now than I've had for probably the last 20 years. And again, as I've said in prior posts, I think that I've had mental clarity issues going on back all the way back to probably 2000 or even before, all directly related to sugar and probably diabetes, prediabetes. So I want to talk about what I do to stay focused and what I do throughout the day. I mean, I'm going to be honest, I like to sleep. So I sleep until I wake up and I'm ready to get up. I don't I don't turn on the alarm clock and pounce out of bed at 6 o'clock. Quite frankly, it's too freaking cold here. And again, I won't be talking about how cold it is here if I know where everybody else is from. If you're all from Alaska or Antarctica, I won't be complaining about the cold anymore at all. But so I like to sleep, and the more I'm doing research, the more I'm realizing that sleep is extremely important. And quite frankly, because I've always been such a sleeper, the sleep may have actually helped me put things off longer than my body actually wanted to. So I get up, I'm going to say in between 6 and 9 o'clock, and sometimes when it's really cold, I'll just lay in bed and just stay warm for even longer. And then I try to mentally prepare myself for the things that I need to accomplish that day, because it's so difficult to accomplish anything or even plan it at this point with the physical problems that I have. I try to at least plan the things that I really need to do, and then I try to think out alternative situations if I can't do it. As an example, depending on what I eat or just my how much physical exercise I've gotten in the last couple days. Something as simple as buttoning buttons can be near impossible. Like buttoning pants buttons can be extremely difficult. So I have to consider, well, what if I can't get that button done? What am I going to do? So I try to set myself up with 2 or 3 alternatives that I can do that's adequate, so that I'm not trying to work my day with no pants. So it's those little things that that I'm trying to set my priorities daily, and then setting up alternatives to do if I can't do that. As an example, I need to get out to the front of my house to get my mail. I haven't got my mail in quite some time, and I'm not quite sure physically whether I'm actually able to do that. So now I'm trying to think of some alternative things that I can do to actually have somebody either go get the mail, or a way for me to get up to get the mail without having to worry about falling down up there and ending up the couple of hours on the sidewalk up there. And I have had a problem with that in the past. I walked up to the mailbox this last winter after we had a pretty good amount of snow, and the walking in the snow just wore me out to the point where I just couldn't walk anymore. So about halfway back through the driveway, I went down. I didn't have the strength to stand back up to walk the rest of the way to the house. So at that point, I had very few alternatives. I literally had to crawl from half my driveway back to the house, which is pretty embarrassing and pretty ridiculous actually, but I learned the hard way that I can't over push myself, that I need to have an alternative. So when I go up and get the mail, I have to go up and either bring a chair or something that I can sit in and just relax, look casually relaxed, instead of laying in the yard or laying in the driveway. So that's always a challenge. Is what am I going to do if I can't do what I need to do? Like right now, it's very difficult for me to do dishes. I have pretty bad neuropathy in my hands, and I'm hoping that some of the nerve things that are starting to resolve will help me do dishes a little bit easier. But I'm trying to figure out some alternative ways that I can get these dishes done and actually clean things up a little bit. So Michael also asks about other YouTubers or other people where you can get maybe some information. I'm just going to say that I got a lot of information from YouTube. It all started with YouTube. That's when I started realizing that what exactly was wrong with me and the things that I could have done. And one thing that YouTube definitely helped with is with a couple of YouTube content providers that talked about diabetes and prediabetes. There's quite a few of those out there, and it's easier addressed than what I was dealing with. Like prediabetes and diabetes, you eat right, you exercise, and you dial back on sugar and carbs. That's easy. Anthony Chafee was one of them, and I can't remember all of the others. There was quite a few. But none of them really addressed my specific issues, which was actually kind of scary. So I didn't subscribe, but I constantly reviewed through all the cycles of all of these content providers, and eventually found little tiny nuggets of things that I've shared on this channel that have helped, or at least explained what was going on, because it's hard enough dealing with what you have to deal with when you can't figure it out, you can't explain it. So I can't really suggest specifically content providers that will address anything beyond reducing an A1C or reversing diabetes or prediabetes. Now again, like I had said in prior posts that I've done, I know that I had diabetes and prediabetes probably 20 years ago. And of course I paid no attention. I had a doctor at that time that was not helpful. Actually sent me off in the wrong direction. So I didn't know what it was or what to do, or I didn't know how to change things. But back then, turning around diabetes would have been extremely helpful, and probably I wouldn't be where I'm at now. But those are not the people that I want to review today. Like right now, what I'm having to review is how to reverse neuropathy, how to reverse nerve issues, which is the post that I made the other day. That was directly from one of the posts that I saw the other day about reversing neuropathy and how it is possible and how you can do it and some different ways of doing it. That's actually what I'm testing right now. That was the post that told me about motor nerves and um, motor nerves and sensory nerves and how they affect your body and what they do in your body. And that's what kind of explained to me maybe what was happening with my body. I think that my motor nerves are actually starting to either regrow or coming back to life. I don't know exactly what it is, but what I thought was the muscle, I think the muscle has probably been addressed 12 months ago when I stopped eating carbs for the most part and stopped eating sugar. But the nerves take, I don't know, a year, 2 years to regrow. And it will take that long for me to get complete physical activity back, which I am starting to get, which I'm happy to say. So one of the things that keeps me focused on what I'm doing is having some kind of an idea of what's going on and having some kind of a plan of what I'm going to do to proactively make things better. And quite frankly, that is right now one of those proactive things is I have to be able to do a better job of laying on the ground on my stomach or on my back and getting myself to my feet and then being able to stand up and walk away, which I can do. There are times though when it's difficult, more difficult than other times, depending on what I've eaten or if I had what I had to drink, if I had coffee or if I had tea or whatever. Sometimes that can be more difficult. So I have to set myself a goal. And that goal is usually something to do in the house, like clean something up that I need to clean, which I have to clean things all the time. I drop things very often. I make a mess, and sometimes I'm just not in the right mental mind to clean it up right then and there. So I do save it in my mind, and I do go back and clean it. If I have to clean the bathrooms or if I need to clean the kitchen, which I need to do, I talked about that already. It's very difficult. Those are all things on my mental list that I keep around the house, and then I keep a mental list of physical things, like like cutting my hair. I have to cut my hair kind of not too frequently, not too frequently, but frequently enough that I need to actually plan it. And that seems like an easy thing to do, but it's extremely difficult when you have very not great mobility in your hands and you're trying to do these razor things on your head. That can be extremely difficult, especially again when your elbows feel like they're kind of locked up a little bit. Um, so I have to have those things that I'm going to do physically around the house, and then just things that I need to do myself. Like it's silly trying to clip nails or pluck, I don't know, eyebrow hairs out of your eyebrows. Those kind of things are not easy, and they're very easy to disregard and forget about unless you keep a mental list. So I keep a mental list of everything that I need to do. Again, usually physical, something that I'm going to do physically around the house, and then around myself, for myself. And then I try to keep myself busy doing other things too. Like right now, I'm using Duolingo. I'm trying to learn Chinese. How crazy is that? But that's something that's keeping me busy. And then, of course, I watch hours and hours and hours of YouTube videos trying to figure things out. And then I watch YouTube videos on finance stuff and job stuff. I'm constantly doing YouTube stuff, and I'm on the internet looking at posts constantly. And that keeps me pretty busy. So that's a little kind of in a day in my life. Like the very first thing that I have to do in the morning is figure out, is today going to be difficult, easy, or impossible? And then I have to reprioritize the things that I need to do for that day based on that. And quite frankly, I've had all three of those happen for a very long time. And I'm hoping that this whole thing with my nerves and getting nerve function back and getting motor capabilities back in my nerves, that these things will all become a little bit easier. And then of course there's the cold. It's freaking cold here, so I'm not outside. I'm not going for a walk. I have to be careful if I want to try to take the trash up to the street, because if I fall down, I could literally freeze to death in my driveway. And I don't want that. I don't want that to happen. Like, that's something that I definitely, that's not how I want it to be done. I don't want to end it like that. So I have to be very careful of all those things. And then it's kind of funny because now where I live, we get the colder nights. So it's 30 degrees at night, 50 degrees at night, in between there, around there. It can be cold enough that I use a good amount of blankets. I mean, I have 20 pounds of blankets. It takes me like a full minute to get out from underneath the blankets in the morning. Not because it's so cold, but just because it's 20 pounds of blankets. When you can't feel the nerves in your feet or your legs so great, it's difficult to get out from underneath the covers. It's embarrassing, it's ridiculous, it's sad. I'm looking forward to getting past all this. So again, I have to set some priorities for myself every day. And I always try to make sure that I've got some kind of physical activity. Soon I'm going to start working out again. I have to buy some lighter weights because all the weights that I bought are just too heavy for me. I just can't lift them. I have to find something that's hot. It's heavy enough to actually get a little bit of a workout, but not so heavy that I can't work out at all. So that physical thing is, and that wears me out too. If I get down on the ground and stand up 3 times, like that wears me out. My muscles are not regrown enough to be able to support that kind of activity for very long. So that's something that I actually try to do every day. And then keeping up the house. Some days that's easier than other days. Some days it's impossible and I just have to put it on my list, my mental list, and come back to it. The one thing that I will say that is very different is just this whole mental clarity thing. Like getting the sugar out of my body and getting the insulin sensitivity back in my brain, it does make things a lot easier for me to accomplish anything. I mean, there was a point when I couldn't accomplish anything because I couldn't remember what I needed to do. So those things are starting to get a little bit easier. Now it's just whether, again, I'm physically able to accomplish what I need to accomplish. Whether I have the tools to do it or whether I have the resources to be able to do those things. So I hope this is a little bit helpful. I don't know that this is going to be helpful or even specifically address the questions that Michael had. But if you have any questions or any comments, I'd love to hear them below. Boink! Right on down below. And again, I'm curious to know where you folks are watching from. I don't want to be like talking too much about how much I hate the Northeast if you're all from the Northeast. That would kind of defeat the purpose of me doing a post and trying to have a conversation dialogue on this platform. So I hope you're having a great day, and I hope this is a helpful or thoughtful post and that you get some value out of it. If you aren't subscribed, please consider subscribing. I'm going to be telling my story going forward, and hopefully, again, the end of my stories will be, hey, guess what? I'm better. I'm all good. I reversed the whole thing. It's all better. And hopefully that's sooner than later. I do have a feeling like that's going to start happening faster. I did read, or the video that I watched about this whole nervous system, the motor and nervous system, is that the very hardest time in reversing the motor nerves is at the very end, and then it quickly and rapidly gets better. So I'm hoping that's the case. Hopefully I can get to the end of this difficulty and dysfunction and start reversing this thing and getting better much quicker. I got things I need to do, and they just can't hold out too much longer. Anyways, I hope you're having a great day. Thank you so much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.